Hello, everyone. This is class number 12. Today, if you still remember, module number 1, the question that starts with in the early 1800s, and the answer choice is widespread. Please find this worksheet very quickly. And I guess we have finished up to question number 15. Before I start, يا شباب, I need to say something very quickly. And I went through your homework, the inference, and I have got only 12. 12 did the work, and the rest they haven't done anything. شباب الله يخليكم, we need to work harder than that. We need to work harder than that. Okay? I'm not going to talk about this right now because I have a lot to finish today. And I was discussing this with one of your colleagues here, Hamda, and we talked about what the challenging questions in the digital SAT. Maybe she talked about the format of the questions, about, like what using the computer rather than the paper. I mean, these are issues we can understand. It is purely, literally psychological, okay? But the most important thing, okay, and that's why I don't want to make it like hard for you. Yes, of course, it's less stress, less tension. I understand this. But the point is, and let me show my camera for the time being, okay? And the point is, Mister, we don't have any long passages anymore. But the point here, with that digital SAT, there is a lot of what? Remember this one, critical thinking skills. And that's the main issue. I understand that the question that has to do with what standard English conventions, it's okay. I mean, grammar, punctuations, huh? And I can tell you exactly what will be in the exam, okay? They won't change. They won't change. And the summary questions at the end, or like the presentation that the student has prepared, okay, to summarize based on the question, what's required in the question, that's command easy. But what's not easy? Like what? 2 types of questions. Let us say 3. Okay. Maybe number 1, the vocabulary questions. Okay. The 6, 7 questions which have to do with what? With the vocabulary words. Okay. Yes, some vocabulary words are not common at all. So that makes it even more challenging. Okay. And then the other one, ideas and details questions. Like which finding, if true, that's a problem, and that's critical thinking, and that's what you need. Mister, I must read the passage for more than 2 times, okay? I mean, you still can do it, yes. But the point is, احنا together, and that's what I want to instill in you. ده اللي عايز ازرعه جواكم انكم تتعلموا التفكير النقدي. I'm sorry, Ibrahim, but you need to learn how to critically think. That's very important. Okay, when I say which finding, if true, it means what? That finding is not stated in the passage, but it may be referred to in the passage. And it is your job to come up with a conclusion based on what you have read, Which finding, if true, would support, yeah, mister, these types of questions are even way easier than which finding, if true, weaken or undermine, بتضعف the claim of the writer. That's even more difficult. So we're talking about the opposite. You understand? The other question is, again, critical thinking questions, which is what, yeah, mister? The inference, okay? What logically completes the text? This is also challenging, but you need to get used to it. فعشان كده يا شباب, and I'm not gonna go very fast, okay? We need to spend time doing these questions till you get the hack out of it. You understand? You need to learn it because majority of your exam is about this one, or even these questions would be about what? Because it's an adaptive, so I mean the grades and the scoring based on these questions will be very high. So instead of like 1 mark for a simple question, that would be out of 3 marks. You understand what I mean? And it depends on the curve. Is it 30 marks or 20 marks or 10 marks? You understand what I mean? So we need to give due care to such to such questions. Okay, this is what I have to say before we start. تعالوا لي هنا بقى يا شباب، وعايزين كده بالراحه كده بقى يا شباب، وانا عايز لو سمحتوا everyone, if you are staying in the class because you have to stay, please don't just leave. Okay, ready? Promise? Promise? Okay, yeah. Let us start. ايه رايكم في السؤال ده حضراتكم؟ Which choice, if true, would most directly weaken the astronomer's claim? طيب, the point is, we said we need to break down the question, okay, and we need to break down the text itself. يا سعد, weaken the astronomer's claim. By the way, the text could have more than one claim. A claim by astronomers and another claim by other people. You understand? Here we care about what? The astronomer's claim. For those people who are still struggling with the word claim, claim means what? Opinion, means conjecture, means assumptions, something which has got no strong evidence. Fair enough? تمام. And let us see the astronomer's claim here and what is the opposite of their claim, or what undermine or weaken their claim. Ready? يلا. It's here. Given that, وانا قلت لكم before, given that يا إبراهيم means what? Bearing in mind that stars and planets initially form from the same gas and dust in space. You understand this? So that's a fact. Bearing in mind that stars and planets initially form from the same gas and dust in space. This is what? One. Some astronomers have posited. We said many times. How many times did we see that word? A lot. Positive means what? Suggested. So that's their claim, right? That host stars, what are the host stars? Such as the sun, and their planets, such as those in our solar system, are composed of what? Same materials. So the host stars, the sun, and the planets, such as whatever stars in our solar systems, are what? Are composed of the same material. Till here is fine? Till here is fine? And then, what else, teacher? With the planets containing equal or smaller quantities of the material that make up the host star. But the planets here, we said the host star made of what? Gas and dust. But with the planets, this is something additional, containing equal or smaller quantities of the material that make up what? The host stars. So it contains the same dust and the same gas. And the same gas of what? Of the host stars. Same thing. But here he said like what? Or smaller quantities of the material that make up the host stars. Till here is fine. That's number two. This idea is also supported by evidence that rocky planets, here we were talking about what? Planets, remember this. That rocky planets in our solar system are composed of some of the same material as the sun. It's almost the same. It's almost what? The same. Do you agree with me? Omar Tawfiq, quickly please. Is it the same? Right? تمام, حلو قوي. What could weaken the astronomer's claim? تعالوا كده بقى. يلا. A. Answer me please. Most stars are made of hydrogen and helium, but when cooled, they are revealed to contain what? Small amounts of iron and what? Silicate. Is there any mention of being cooled or not cooled? No mention of this one. But Mister, why do you accept from the beginning? You should have what? You should have said hydrogen and helium wasn't in the what? In the passage, so it's wrong. No, that's a finding. That's something new that you have to come up with. That's something new that you have to come up with. quickly يا عمر الله يخليك. بلاش distraction الله يخليك. طيب. يبقى this is wrong. طب what else? A nearby host star. It's here يا شباب. A nearby host star اللي هو the sun is observed to contain the same proportion of hydrogen and helium as that of what? As that of the sun. What do you think of this one? Has nothing to do with what? With the planets. You understand what I mean? طيب. Cross. Evidence appears that the amount of iron and in some rocky planets, remember, in some rocky what? Planets, is considerably higher than the amount in their host star. Mister, that could be a finding. Wait a minute, it could be a finding. All of them could be a finding. But that finding, does it weaken or support? Look at this one here. When he said here, no, not support. Remember, he said here the host star. Remember this one, ya shabab, such as the sun and their planets, such as what? Those in our solar system are composed of the same material. With the planets, there is an extra
equal
thing
or
here
small
about the
quantities
planets.
يعني.
Containing equal or smaller quantities. And here you are coming to tell me like what? Like what? Evidence emerged that the amount of iron in some rocky planets is considerably higher than the amount of their host what star, اللي هي the sun. Is it higher? Huh? Mister, in the passage he said what? Of the same what? Of the same what? Of the same materials, right? And then what else? What else? He said containing equal what? Equal what? Equal or smaller the planets, or smaller what? Or smaller quantities. Smaller what? Quantities. You are coming here to say like these planets is considerably higher than the amount in their host stars. This is opposite to what is mentioned what? To what's mentioned here. Do you agree with me? In that case, this point undermine or weaken. Let us go to the last one. The method for determining the composition. And look at the method here. Did we talk about any method of determining the composition of rocky planets is discovered to be less effective? Did we talk whether the method is effective or ineffective? يبقى here no mention whether what the method is effective or ineffective. قول يا ياسر. يا ياسر مين؟ سليم.
Same. Mr. Why is it not true يعني Mr. The method may tell us that maybe they are not correct about the materials that are shared between planets and
this is Yasser or Saif?
Salim
حبيبي. Did I talk about any method here? Did I talk about any method?
It's a finding and if true.
Look at this one. The finding that we can, أنا here I said what يا أستاذ سليم حبيبي. أنا قلت يا حبيبي إن planets and stars they are of the same gas and dust in space. Okay, they form with the same what? Gas and dust in space. But here he came to say in the planets containing equal like what? Equal of the host stars near the sun or smaller. You are coming here to say like what? Evidence emerged that the amount of iron, whatever iron, gas, dust, in some rocky planets with the planets, which was here what Ya Ustaz Salim, containing equal or smaller quantities.
I understand, sir, why the answer B is correct, but I'm saying that maybe because choice D may affect the answer, may weaken it as well by and showing that maybe they didn't.
And I want people to understand this. Ya Muham, all of this one. Do you have anything about the method? Method means what? Steps, process, ways, okay? We don't have any talk about what? About the method here, ya habibi خالص. You need to understand. In this paragraph, it was talking about what? Something factual. We're talking about what? The components or what forms or what is the sun or the host star is comprised of and what are the planets are comprised of. We didn't talk about any methods and whether the method is effective or ineffective. For me, ya shabab, this one is the opposite. You understand, ya shabab, or no? Of what is mentioned here in the what? In the text. جاهزين؟ يلا. تعالوا لي هنا نقول yeah. And let us divide it this way يا شباب. أنا قلت لكم break down the question. أنا بقول which finding, if true, would most directly support what? Bradis argument. Bradis what? Arguments. Fair enough? طيب. Let us just divide it يا شباب. Let us divide it this way. يلا. The first one is what? In the 20th century, ethnographers, we remember the word ethnographers, those who study the cultures, the different people, their lives, whatsoever. Ethnographers made concerted effort to collect Mexican American folklore. And if they did that kind of effort, concerted like what sort of mutual effort? يعني كلهم اتجمعوا مع بعض وعملوا effort عشان يعملوا ايه يا استاذ سعد؟ to collect Mexican American folklore. But they did not always agree about what? The folklore's origins. where it was originated. خلاص كده؟ This is one. And then what else? خدوا هنا بقى. Scholars such as Aurelio Espinosa claim that Mexican-American folklore derived largely from the folklore of Spain. الراجل ده طلع بقى قال لك ايه؟ some scholars بقى على راسهم مين؟ اورييلو اسبينوسا. قالوا ايه؟ ان مكسيكان امريكان فولكلور والله ده مشتق او جاي منين؟ largely from the folklore of Spain. Which ruled in Spain? You need to know. Yeah, Mariam, which ruled Mexico and what is now southeastern United States from the 16th to 19th centuries. Do you have a problem with that? Yeah, but we have got Aurelio Espinosa. He said like what? All the folklore of the American Mexican folklore taken from what? From Spain, because Spain colonized the place. Then نسكت كده؟ لا، يدخل بقى مين؟ يدخل بقى مين؟ Americo Pradas. Scholars such as Americo Prados, by contrast means what? It's the opposite. So they did not agree in the American-Mexican folklore coming from what? Spain. عملوا ايه? Argued that, look at this one, and it was what? It was a sort of what? Compromise here. While some Spanish influence is undeniable, we cannot deny there is not an iota of doubt that there was Spanish influence. كان في تأثير جدا للإسبان خلاص كده على الفولكلور. لكن قال ايه؟ while معايا عمر توفيق while Mexican American folklore is mainly the product of the ongoing interactions of various cultures in Mexico and the United States. So Brad is here يا كريم. What he's trying to say? والله بيقول ايه؟ I understand that there is some influence of the Spanish on the folklore of American Mexican, right? But Mexican American folklore mainly is what is the product of ongoing what? Interactions. يعني تعاملات كده ongoing يعني شغالة of various cultures, mix of cultures in Mexico and the United States. Which finding, if true, would most directly support the Pradis argument. يلا كده يا شباب جاهزين؟ Are you ready؟ يلا بقى اشوف بقى الناس فهمت ولا لا. يلا يا عمر يا توفيق، يلا يا كارن، ايه رايكم في ايه؟ Say yes, no, question mark. Are you ready؟ يلا يا أرو. The folklore that the ethnographers collected included several songs written in the form of decima. ايه هي الديسيما؟ A type of poem originating in the late 16th century. It doesn't have to do anything with the product of ongoing interaction of various cultures, right? Nothing, right? There is no ongoing interactions of different cultures here, right? You agree? تمام، بلاش. Much of the folklore that the ethnographers collected had similar elements from region to region. Is it a finding that I could come up with based on what? يا شباب online, based on what يا حمدة? Based on what Bradis claimed. ايه رأيك يا أحمد؟ يا شباب yes or no؟ راح سلمى قالت لي ممكن yes. ليه يا سلمى؟ ممكن تقولي لي وجهة نظرك ليه؟ ويوسف جورج قال لي يس. ليه يا حبيبي؟ معلش بص يا حبيبي اللون الازرق ده يا حبيبي. ابراهيم look at the blue, the light blue. It has nothing to do والله ان هم I mean had similar elements from region to region. Then I said what? I said what? It is the product of ongoing interactions of various cultures in Mexico and United States. You can go for a question mark, right? خلينا question mark. تمام. Most of the folklore that ethnographers collected was previously known to scholars. Previously known to scholars. What this has to do with what, yeah, Mister? With ongoing interaction of various cultures, right? Mohab. It does not support. طيب. Okay. Most of the folklore that the ethnographers collected consisted of corridos. ايه هو الكوريدوس؟ ballads, like poems اللي هي دايما بتديك short stories كده يعني. About what? History and social life of clearly recent what? Origin. History and social life. Isn't it فين فوق يا شباب؟ اطلعوا لي فوق. Isn't it يا مستر ongoing interactions? Isn't it interaction, social life? You understand? Isn't it of clearly recent origin اللي هي ايه يا مستر؟ اللي بنسميها ايه يا مستر؟ ongoing ongoing interactions. What does it mean ongoing? Still there. You understand what I mean? And social life, same thing, interactions. يبقى يا مستر that could be a finding. That could be a finding based on what I have read about what Bradis, what argument اللي هي هنا يا مستر, it is a product of the ongoing interactions of various cultures in Mexico and the United States. If you still don't understand, raise a hand لو سمحت. ها ماشي الحال؟ جنى، احمد، سعد، حلو. طيب عمر هاني قال I don't understand. طيب ايه عمر خليني اجاوب على عمر يا سليم الاول. عمر يا حبيبي، عمر انا بقول يا حبيبي what would most directly support Bradis argument. برادس قال ايه هنا يا عمر؟ ممكن تقراها لي يا حبيبي؟ ممكن تقرا لي قال ايه هنا الراجل ده؟ ها scholar such as Americo Bradis by contrast قال ايه؟ that while some Spanish influence is undeniable في شويه influence للاسبان. Mexican American folklore is mainly the product of the ongoing interactions. حاجه فيها social life، الناس بتتعامل مع بعض of various cultures in Mexico and the United States. ده معناها ايه يا استاذ عمر؟ لو انا عايز اطلع فايندنج مش موجود هنا، الفايندنج مش موجود هنا، بس انا بتخيله والله ممكن most of the folklore that ethnographer collected كان بيحتوي على corridos. These ballads about what? About history and social life, interactions of clearly recent origin. Of clearly recent origin, if you want to replace it with a vocab, يا عمر يا هاني, I'll go for what? Ongoing. Ongoing means what? Still there. So it means what? Recent what? Of clearly recent origin. You understand? This is the only finding that you can come up with. Am I right, يا عمر? Salim. Give your say, يا Salim.
No, I don't fully understand, but now I do.
تمام. تعالوا لي كده بقى يا شباب. يلا هاتوا لي دي بقى ايه تاني؟ ما بتخلص الاسئله دي ولا لا؟ دي حضراتكم الانفرنس كويستشنز. دي برضو من الاسئله اللي عايزه ايه؟ عايزين نقول فيها كلام. ايه هي بقى الاسئله دي بقى؟ Which choice most logically completes the text؟ انت مطالب حضرتك انك انت to break down the text. انا بقول لكم اهو يا جنى break down the text. هنعمله breaking down the text ازاي؟ انا هقول لكم نعملها ازاي. وتمشي بالراحه وتشوف what completely what logically completes the what the text. اوكي؟ طيب تعالوا لي هنا بقى انا اعملها كده. يلا كده. In the early 19th century, some Euro-American farmers in the northeastern United States. خلوا بالكم يا شباب، خلوا بالكم من الارجيومنت. عمر توفيق، انا عايزك تركز الله يخليك. عايزين نركز الله يخليكم. تاني. In the early 19th century, some Euro-American farmers in the northeastern United States. عملوا ايه؟ عملوا ايه الناس دول؟ ابراهيم انا I don't speak a lot of Arabic, right? Is it fine for you? شويه كده يعني. خلاص؟ طيب. Used agriculture techniques developed by the what? Haudenosaunee Iroquois people centuries earlier. تاني يا مستر. يبقى in the early 19th century, which is not very old, right? Some Euro-American farmers who originally what? European in the northeastern United States used agriculture techniques developed by the what? Haudenosaunee Iroquois people centuries what? Earlier. Okay? So they used something that has been developed many centuries ago. Okay? This is one. But it seems that few of those farmers, had actually seen Haudenosaunee farms firsthand. But very few farmers out of the Euro-American farmers, so what يا شباب? So those techniques, or let us say firsthand. What does mean firsthand? They were contemporaries. They were what? يعني هم كانوا معاصرين ليها. Very few. First hand means what? Observed directly. You understand what I mean? Very few of them. You understand the idea? تاني. حضرتكم فاكرين كان في تكست عن someone who used to live in what? In France. وكانت exposed to first hand art. يعني ايه first hand art؟ يعني هي معاصرة للحركة الفنية في فرنسا، هي شايفاها قدامها بس ما عدتش عنها. She hasn't heard about it. She was there. She experienced it. You understand? فانا بقول يا شباب few of those American farmers or Euro American farmers مالهم seems that here few of those farmers had actually seen Haudenosaunee farms firsthand. So they haven't seen it what? يعني first hand يعني ما عصروهاش. اوكي طيب what else؟ تعالوا بقى the other part. Barring the possibility. Mister what does mean barring؟ انا هقول لكم على معنى barring واحفظوها لانها تتكرر كتير. Except for أو if it weren't. If it weren't for the possibility that's barring. بدل ما اقول لك except they will go for barring. طيب what else؟ the second part يا شباب. Barring Antoine, you are very late. You are very late, Antoine. I'm sorry. You are very late. Very late. Lived through it. That's the exactly يا ريتاج. ريتاج said first hand يعني lived through it. Thank you very much. طبعا شافوها قدامهم. لو في تكنيكس هم شافوا التكنيكس قدامهم كانت بتحصل في عصرهم. Right؟ طيب. أنا بقول barring قلنا barring means what؟ يا أسامة except for أو if it weren't for لو ما كانش يعني. طيب barring the possibility of several farmers of the same era independently developing techniques that Haudenosaunee people had already invented. Those people, even if they developed this kind of farming techniques, did they create it from the very beginning, from scratch? Did they create it from scratch or no? They only developed it. But who created it? Who invented it? The Haudenosaunee people. You understand what I mean?
Yes.
يبقى only تاني barring the possibility of several farmers of the same era like 19th century. خلاص كده؟ developing techniques that the Haudenosaunee people had already invented. تمام؟ Till here is okay?
Yes.
طيب. تعالوا هنا بقى. These facts most strongly suggest that what? Let us come up with a finding without, how to complete it without what? Without looking at the answer choices. Can you do it? Can you do it? Who can tell? Don't look at the answer choices. طب تعالوا كده معلش صعبة؟ تعالوا نروح للانسر choices. طيب خلوا بالكم. See, these are the two parts. يبقى this is part number one. Look at this one here يا شباب. This is part number one and this is part number two. Those farmers learned the techniques from other people who were more directly influenced by Haudenosaunee practices. What do you think of this one? Those farmers learned the techniques from other people who were more directly influenced by Haudenosaunee practices. What do you think of this one?
Yes.
وسكت الجميع. طب نخليها question mark يا شباب. طيب it makes sense طبعا يا ابن الحلال. انا مش بقول لك ان هم they only developed only few people few farmers اللي هم دي ايه مالهم يا بنتي few farmers okay had actually seen Haudenosaunee farms firsthand. يبقى that means what? ان هم they learned the techniques from what? Other people who were living at the same age of the Haudenosaunee people. That makes sense, right? ايه رايكم؟ طيب تاني لو هم very few people تاني يا شباب اهي تاني that's critical thinking. بصوا كده فكروا math. لو those people haven't lived in the same age and very few farmers had seen the Haudenosaunee farms firsthand, like face to face, and some farmers they developed it but they haven't created it. That means what? That means حضراتكم إن those farmers learned the techniques from other people who were more directly influenced by Haudenosaunee practices. And what does mean more directly influenced? What does mean? First hand.
Affected by.
Okay? You understand? طيب خلوها شويه بقى لان في ناس لسه مش مقتنعه. طب تعالوا نشوف other logical completion يا مريم. The crops typically cultivated by Euro-American farmers in the northwest eastern United States were not well suited to Haudenosaunee farming techniques. They didn't talk about this. They didn't talk about this. So cross يا عمر يا هان. Haudenosaunee farming techniques were widely used in regions outside the northeastern United States. That could complete it. That could complete it. No, no, خالص. Euro-American farmers only began to recognize the benefits of Haudenosaunee farming techniques late in the 19th century. It has nothing to do with this. أنا for me يا شباب إن هم they didn't learn the techniques firsthand, and some farmers they developed it, but the Haudenosaunee people created it. يبقى that means what يا أساتذة؟ إن those farmers learned the techniques from other people who were more directly influenced by Haudenosaunee practices. So I'll go for what? I'll go for A. عمر توفيق, you understand?
Yes.
طيب. حمدة. أسامة. طيب. What about people online? Tell me. Tell me. طيب تعالوا لي هنا بقى يا شباب نقول دي حلو قوي حلو قوي. طيب يعني بدأنا. We've started. عمر توفيق والله الأسئلة دي مش محتاجة كلام خالص. We have started. What about this one يا شباب؟